Okay, so I want to mention something right off the bat. I carried my phone with me when I went back at times, thankfully. I always use my phone to check out what's happening in the present day. And apparently, an African American gentleman got choked to death by a cop. Police brutality. And the resulting aftermath was multiple riots in Minneapolis and everywhere else in the United States. Yeah, it's a complete mess. And you might be wondering, how do I feel about that since I myself am African American? What do you think I am? I'm furious. But I'm not going to let that distract me. I am in the year 2003 now, and I'm about to review this movie, so let's get into that, shall we? So, I knew this was going to happen. I knew if someone kept using necromancy, it was going to bite that person in the ass. And I was right. Many story ideas went to Mr. Misaki Tezuka, with him saying all of those stories that were given to him were completely boring, so he decided to make one up instead. And what the Japanese got was Godzilla Tokyo SOS, which was released on December 13th, 2003. But before I get into the plot as usual, I'm going to take a 1.5 minute break. I'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, let's get into it. Spoilers are up ahead. You have been warned. In 2004, Kiryu is undergoing repair modifications after its battle with Godzilla 1 year earlier. Prime Minister Hayato, how you want to say his last name? Igarashi attempts to lead scientist Yoshito Chujo. Hey, remember him from the original Mothra? Of course I do. Of course you do. And choose to replace the Absolute Zero cannon with a more powerful Trimaser, or Hypermaser. The Sobigen warned the Japanese government that Godzilla continues returning to the country because they used the original Godzilla's bones in Kiryu's design. What did I tell you? Biting them in the ass. Donkeys they are. Okay, Gordon Ramsay, calm down. If they return the bones to the bottom of the sea, Mothra would gladly take Kiryu's place in defending Japan. But if they do not, Mothra will not help them. What a cunt. Although I do see where they're going with that. Soon enough, Kamibus, how do you say that name? Do you pronounce Kamibus or Kamobus? Anyway, a giant mata turtle, I didn't know that was a thing, is found washed ashore on a Japanese beach. It is determined by the wounds in Kamima's neck that Godzilla killed it, probably because he was looking for a buddy to target. Later on, Godzilla and Mothra fight, but Godzilla seems to get the upper hand. However, with the repairs finished just in the nick of time, Kiryu manages to even the odds, but Godzilla still manages to knock both it and Mothra out. Meanwhile, on Infant Island, two twin Mothra larvae hatch from Mothra's egg and rush to help their mother. As Kiryu undergoes repairs again, the larvae try to hold Godzilla off, but Mothra sacrifices herself by flying in the way of Godzilla's atomic breath, saving the larvae. Just in time, Yoshito and the humans repair Kiryu, who stabs Godzilla's chest with a drill, ouch, causing Godzilla to bleed, I didn't see any blood, and roar in pain. The larvae begin to bind Godzilla up in silk. Just as Kiryu's pilot, Azusa Kisaragi, receives the order by Igarashi to destroy Godzilla before the Kiryu project is scrapped, Kiryu's soul is reawakened through Godzilla's roar, again. The cyborg lifts Godzilla and secures its grip with cables. Kiryu then uses its boosters to carry itself and Godzilla out to sea before it turns over to let Yoshito, who was trapped inside the cockpit, to escape through to a control jet that is flying alongside before plunging into the sea with Godzilla. And in the post-credits, it is seen that scientists have collected Godzilla's DNA from 1999. Apparently, the human race has learned their lesson. Donkeys. Alright, I'm going to take a 3-minute break. I'll be right back. Miss Oshima, if you please. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, and let's see how this movie fared with the critics. The movie has received generally positive reviews from journalist reviewers, upon its release on DVD. John, I want to say his last name, Sinat of DVD Talk gave Tokyo SOS 4 stars out of 5, saying, "There are some problems with this movie, but when all is said and done, I really enjoyed it. While this movie seems to be aimed to a younger audience without a lot of plot or characterization, it was still a lot of fun. The fight scenes were exciting, and though they took up most of the movie, they never dragged on or got boring." Giving the film a score of 3 out of 5 stars, Stomp Tokyo said, "The plot is fairly simplistic and the relationships, are painted in broad strokes," but added that the movie features the best monster action Toho has produced. Joseph Savitsky of Beyond Hollywood criticized the film's uninspired script, to which he wrote had ideas that are never fully developed, but added that the film is well made and makes for an entertaining 91 minutes. And finally, Mark Zimmer of Digitally Obsessed gave Tokyo SOS a B score, calling it a fun enough action film with enough explosions and destruction of Tokyo to satisfy diehards and casual fans alike. Isn't that kind of like a Michael Bay movie, the way he just described it? Anyway, my turn. It wasn't as great as the previous movie, but it was still good. The story is all about the monsters. If that wasn't obvious enough, I don't know what is. The human characters are tolerable at best. My only gripe is that Tezuka completely dropped Akane from the previous movie and replaces her with somebody else. That kind of scratched my head. However, with one character gone, another one takes her place. Yoshito literally steals the show, or movie in this case. Now, let's move on to the monsters. Mothra makes sense in this movie. See, she isn't just trying to declare war on the humans, she's trying to prevent that if they just return the bones to the sea. All of that makes sense. Speaking of the bones, it feels as though that Godzilla realized that the bones of the original are inside of that mech, so that I'm thinking he himself is trying to return the bones to where he used to sleep. And I guess Kiryu felt the same way, since both of them are being plunged into the Japanese trench. So let's move on to the designs. Kiryu's design is mostly the same, but with some upgrades. Godzilla is also the same, but with a scar, and I love that scar, by the way. Mothra, holy Jesus Christ, she is no longer stiff. Thank Christ. The practical effects in this movie are so polished, it's ridiculous. And the CG effects are surprisingly decent in some shots. The choreography may not be as animated as the previous movie, but it is what it is. I've stated back in episodes 30, 32, and 33 that Kawatani was the Martin O'Donnell for Gamera back in the late 90s. So it should come as no surprise as what I'm about to say next. Michiru Oshima is the Martin O'Donnell for Godzilla in the early 2000s. Her music in this movie is on par with Megaguirus, which isn't a bad thing at all. The updated Mothra theme along with a new one is amazing. The additional notes to Godzilla's theme is pure genius. It gives off that feeling of build-up. But my two personal favorite tracks are the opening credits and the ending credits. Oh my god, the ending credits music is just beautiful. The first time I heard this track, I almost cried. Yeah, that's right, I said it. The first time I listened to this particular track, I almost teared up. And I'm not afraid to admit that. Overall, Godzilla Tokyo SOS is a good sequel, earning my final grade of 80 unrested spirits out of 100. It's good enough to buy it on Blu-ray. Thank God that guy has stopped doing necromancy. It was getting pretty old. Anyway, that'll about do it for this episode. For more thoughts and First Amendment opinions on kaiju movies, video games, and anime, stay tuned to the Brumakian podcast and subscribe to Brumakian Productions for more juicy content. This has been Demetrius signing off, and hail to the king.